This is Dave Brixius.
And this is your man, Joe Cleasy.
And this is the program, the CFA edition. Another week, another good bunch of games.
Yep.
As we're starting to get that separation, we're starting to see maybe who's going to get that number one seed now in these conferences that are coming on up, which is exciting. I think there's 2 weekends left, so 2 games left in the regular season. And like I said, a couple teams have definitely pulled away, pretty much locked up their division. Even this, with 2 games left, so it's good to see there. Still some other teams that are on the fence. Some teams that controlled their own destiny had some setbacks, and now they got to fight. Now they got to fight to try to still win the league and still get that 1, 2, or 3 spot, and the home field advantage in the top 4 there. So that happens, late in the season. Sometimes you get a little complacent. Maybe you look ahead, maybe you're not prepared, and boom. Now all of a sudden you're like, darn, I got to fight my way back up and get where I need to go. So
yep, and it's all across 3 divisions, there's a lot of teams with 1 loss, 2 losses, several teams that are currently undefeated. So with a couple more weeks left in the season, you never know how it's going to shake out.
Yeah.
But as you said, these games are even more important, seeds 1 through 8, because let's say you get a 2 or a 3 seed, you never know how that 5, 6, 7, 8 seed is one and done. So
yeah. You're right, and you never know what's going to show. I mean, you're right. It's one and done. This isn't like MLB playoffs. This isn't like some kind of NBA where you have games and series and stuff. This is one game, so you have one slip up.
Yep.
You could be an 8 seed and all of a sudden knock off that number 1 seed. You're done. You're going home, or 2 and 7 or 3 and 6 or whatever. So that's just the way it goes.
And the way some of these conferences are playing out. I mean, some of these teams might end up, a 5 and 4 or 6 and 3, and be a lower seed. But due to the, parity on, at some, in some of these conferences, it's not much separating team from team. I mean, some of these scores from last week, you got teams winning about 1.2 point, a touchdown, overtime. So it's exciting. It's pretty exciting right about now.
Yeah, I mean, you go to the Federal Conference, and you look at the one division down there in the midget standings. You have Greenwood sitting at 7-0. And then you got 3 teams log jams right underneath them at 6-1. You know what I mean? These teams are vying for that number 2 seed, number 3 seed, all that. And Juniata is going to be playing Northern here, and they're both 6-1 in that midget. So somebody's going to definitely separate themselves here, and could be in that a seat for the number 2 seed, depending on what Greenwood does this weekend and what they do in the last game and stuff. But it just goes to show, anything can definitely happen here. But you definitely see in some of the other divisions, definitely separation. I mean, there's 2-3 games that some of these teams are up in the pony, like right above there in the Federal Conference. West Perry's up. They're 7-0. The next closest team's Susquehanna, 4-3. So they pretty much have that side of the division locked up. But they still want to go out, win out that whole division, and hold on to that number 1 seed.
And, speaking of the Federal Conference, just real quickly, Boiling Springs and Northern, they both won all games at all levels. At the PV level, Halifax, West Perry, and Gettysburg were all victorious. At the pony level, West Perry, Gettysburg, and Susquehanna all won their games. And at the midget level, Big Spring, Greenwood, and Halifax were all victorious. So congratulations.
Yeah, that's awesome.
To those teams.
Yeah, so. I mean, I got a great one of the new ones from New Cumberland about some lady definitely sent me in. She was talking about the midget program, how they're under the radar. They're playing in the same conference as Cedar Cliff. And we've talked many times about Cedar Cliff, which I'll get into. Yeah, and I've talked about in Middletown. We really haven't jumped on the Saints here at New Cumberland here, but they're sitting at 5-2. Still having that outside shot of still winning that side of the bracket with Cedar Cliff. Cedar Cliff slips up this week, and New Cumberland wins. I think they play the last weekend of the season. They beat Cedar Cliff. All of a sudden they're tied, and they win the tiebreaker.
Right.
So this is a big thing, but she just sent me this nice thing in. They started out 0-1. They lost to Middletown. They come back, and they're now sitting at 5-2 and stuff like that. And she says, it's a small team. It's only 22 teams on the midget program. 5 8th graders, Dwayne, Crumlack, Alex Lance, Louis Romeo. If I mispronounce anybody's names, I apologize. I'm sorry. Nazir Singleton and Brian Jimenez. They're the 5 guys that are sitting there. But she goes in and talks about how the defense was impressive in shutting out Mechanicsburg here this weekend, 20-0. Or not this weekend, a couple weeks ago, but then also beating St. Joe's 25-12 to get themselves back up there. And, like I said, they have to play 7 stars this weekend. They get the W. Cedar Cliff slips up. Boom, they're a game behind. They both meet the following weekend. You have some fireworks going on, which is you gotta love. You know what I mean? Like if that happens, nothing against Cedar Cliff. They get the job done this weekend. They wrap it up, which is awesome. But you love to see sometimes that at the end, who's going to pull it out? What kind of guts the teams have to actually get there and do what they have to do? So it's interesting.
Yeah, and staying in that conference for a minute. Also got a report from Coach Stone from Seven Stars.
Awesome guy.
Shout out to Coach Stone. He always sends it in.
Always.
Wow, as usual, it's pretty lengthy, but it's let's see, the Smurfs. Just shout out to Jason Maldonado, Ben Heckman, Aaron Ordai, and Braden Dunn. Too many to name here, but they all did good during that game. The Pee-wees lost a tough one to Stilton. Defensive effort given by Chad Sipe, Aaron Mayerski, Max Eckley, Aiden Eckley, and Ryan Souders also had a touchdown run. So let's see. They also lost the following game, to Stilton, but Anthony Larry had a pretty good game. Camden Allen, Gage Radaball, Quincy Renigel, hope I said that right, Nate McGlone, and John Stump all played good games. So, and the midgets unfortunately couldn't even play because Stilton doesn't have a midget team right now. So shout out to Seven Stars. Thanks for the report. And also they also raised money for breast cancer awareness as
awesome.
well.
Great.
So it's obviously that's a pretty good cause. And just real quick, on the Pee Wee level, we talked about New Cumberland. They stay undefeated. They're 7-0 right now. Middletown beat East Pennsboro. Those seem to be the 2 top teams right now for the Pee Wees on that level. Cedar Cliff, Stilton, and Mechanicsburg also won all their games.
Okay.
At the pony level, Stilton and Mechanicsburg won. So they're both still undefeated right now. Obviously, they're going to butt heads at some point. Let's see. Good Shepherd, East Pennsboro, and New Cumberland also won their games as well. So that, as we mentioned before, Cedar Cliff and East Pennsboro. Actually, I'm sorry. That was on the pony level. On the midget level, East Pennsboro got the forfeit because Stilton doesn't have a midget team, as we mentioned. Cedar Cliff won, so that'll set up undefeated Cedar Cliff versus East Pennsboro this weekend.
And East Pennsboro has that 1 loss, so I know they're looking to get that W so they can try to win that number 1 seed there in that conference.
That's right.
Yeah.
And let's see, Susquehanna and St. Joseph also won their games as well. So congratulations to
awesome.
Everybody that won this week.
Perfect. Hey, I got a nice write-up once again from Rebecca Deal. Always sending stuff up from Cedar Cliff, so thank you so much for sending it. Yep, definitely. Cedar Cliff, they're rolling along here, 7-0, the midget program. She said it was a great game with Good Shepherd first half. Good Shepherd slowed down the game, kind of frustrated, I guess, Cedar Cliff a little bit, and it was 0-0 at half. But the team that has worked hard, all that kind of stuff, definitely has, done it all year long with the wins. Come out and take care of stuff in the second half. They had 2 rushing touchdowns in the second half, 1 throwing touchdown, all in the third quarter. Defense, a couple long plays to Charlie Casmer, but he was able to keep them out of the end zone. So that's a big shout out there. And what Cedar Cliff did, start of the fourth quarter, they pulled their starters. So the backups got all that time. They didn't give up any points there, so it was cool that it still made 22-0. And just a shout out on the Cedar Cliff side, Bobby Whalen, Nick Yarvich, hope I say that correctly, and Chase Deal. Once again, Chase is doing a great job there, always reading about him and stuff like that, and getting the job done for the team. And like I said, they control their own destiny. There's a lot of teams out there that do control their own destiny, so it's up to them and how well they finish off the season. One team that I had, had control their own destiny, we're moving up to the American Conference now, is Holy Name.
Yeah. And
they ended up slipping there to Cumberland Valley, who was right behind them. Now they're both tied at that midget level.
Yep.
So now both those teams are tied at 5-2. So now it's going to be a dogfight.
Yeah, Cumberland Valley with the minor upset.
Yeah, coming in there, they were game behind and stuff. And playing at home, they took it to them. So you still got the king of the class over there as the Packers, sitting at 7-0. But right behind them, Central Dauphin.
Yeah.
Central Dauphin has Carlisle, which won't be an easy out there. They're a game behind Central Dauphin, so they like to knock Central Dauphin off, put them right in that second seed there on that side of the playoff. So it's definitely getting interesting as we're coming down to crunch time, as I like to call it. I know you call it as that, and we're getting these seedings and placements for this upcoming playoffs.
Yep. And
You know?
at the midget level, York and Carlisle also won their games and staying within that conference. At the pony level, both Harrisburg and Holy Name seems like they're back full force now. Both at 6-1 right now.
Yeah, Holy Name. Yep.
Actually, the best matchup of last week was between the Redland and Harrisburg Packers programs. All three games were pretty good, and Redland actually won the pony game 13-12 in overtime.
That's a very good. That's Holy Name's only lost at that pony level, so they're a very, very good team down there.
Mm-hmm. And York and Central Dauphin also won their games at the pony level as well. So shout out to them. And speaking of York, once again, York Pee-wees won the game. Shout out to them as well.
Have they got another shutout?
Oh, they get shut out. I think it was.
Yeah.
Was it?
I don't know.
It was a big score though. I don't even want to mention
yeah,
it. So
yeah.
And,
that's a great program doing
in fact,
that
they
well down there.
actually they beat Swatara 7-0, so it was a shutout.
Okay. We'll do it again.
Let's see, Redland. As I mentioned, Redland actually beat the Packers 7-6. Another close game at the Pee Wee level. And Harrisburg Broncos, Holy Name, and Paxton also won their games last weekend. So of course, shouts out to them as well.
Awesome. I see things are shaping up well for the conference, the CFA.
It's a lot of good matchups this week. I'm looking right now. York and Harrisburg Broncos. That should be pretty good.
There's definitely, like I said, this is you got to be ready to play. You're down the crunch time. This is when injuries start to sometimes occur. You start to get them nagging injuries that maybe sometimes around. Hopefully kids are staying healthy. Everybody's taking care of each other out there. And now it's time to strap it up and make sure that they get the job done and get those seeds that they want, and need to do. But the CFA's really shaping out. They got the sites for all the playoff games. They got the Super Bowl, and they got the Turnpike Classic nailed down. Got to give them credit. I know you were just reading to me just a couple minutes before we came on here, start taping, about all the other stuff that's going on.
It's like breaking news.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, the playoff sites have been decided. The Turnpike Classic is basically decided as well. Just getting confirmation of teams. There's also going to be a Smurf Bowl, JV Bowl, all kinds of bowls going on here. All-Star games. So the CFA has a lot of exciting things going on, and I don't care what anybody says. It's definitely the best league, organized youth league in the Northeast.
Yeah, I mean, I've been around and I haven't seen anything.
I'm just talking about it's good football, and I'm just talking about this organization.
Yeah.
It's football. The kids, they get to compete, and they get rewarded at the end.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of that extracurricular outside activities finally come down. I haven't heard as much.
Yes.
Which is good. Parents,
Good
great job. Coaches,
I was going to send Dave after y'all.
Yeah, organizations and all that kind of stuff, taking care of business. To get that under control. It's good to see because it's back to the kids now.
Yep.
We don't have to read it, see in the news or read it saying this is going on, it's going. That's what it's all about. We can read and we can report on, the actual information that's handed to us with the players going out and doing their job. And like Ed said here, it's awesome to see such a big festivity coming up at the end of the year. I think he does have most of those games set. I mean, I was reading over it. He sent out an email today, and he's reading over who's playing who, what all-star teams playing Franklin County, why. He has a team coming in from Delaware. So, I mean, it's not just Pennsylvania anymore. Turnpike Classic, we're going into Delaware. We're going to get him in there.
Shout out to Warren Ritter, one of the commissioners. I mean, he played a big part, again, this Turnpike Classic together and getting some of these teams.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't understand how many commissioners, how many guys put in so much effort. That don't have kids even in the organization. I mean, that's what it goes. Warren doesn't have a kid. I know Dave Bickle, great guy out there, does a lot of stuff.
Yep.
He doesn't have kids anymore. Joe doesn't have kids. I know a lot of other guys out there. I mean, we could go on forever. A lot of these guys don't have kids, and I don't know how much they get appreciated, but they do this on their own time. That's a great thing. I mean, a lot of, you're always going to have criticisms. You're going to have critics, but they still do it and try to always continue to do better. Last year with the Turnpike Classic, it was big. This year's going to be even bigger.
It's going to be huge.
They're doing their job, so we want to give a shout out to those guys, plus all the coaches, what you guys do. I know you guys have been putting in the time, the hours, all that stuff starting back in July. These guys started the last week of July when it was still hot, still humid, going through all of August, all through September. Now we're hitting the midway point of October, so these guys are still going strong. See how it rounds out the last 2 weeks, and then we hit the playoffs. So
that's it.
But we want to wish everybody the best this upcoming week. Everybody who wants to get those seeds in and stuff like that, go out there and play hard. Continue. Parents, continue to do what you're doing. Support the kids. Don't overdo it, but support the team, support the kids. Continue to encourage and positive reinforcement. Coaches, keep getting out there and doing your stuff. The team refs, commissioners, awesome job. We're giving a big shout out here from PA Swags and EXSP.
Indeed.
So this is Dave Brixius.
And this is Joe Cleasy.
And this is the program.